Talking with the experts.
Do you believe that you have to be productive 8 hours a day? My next guest, Stacey Morgan, in episode 362, discusses why this isn't true.
So I think a lot of people watching and listening will immediately go, that's me. Or if I say, get up at 5 o'clock and work in the morning, and they go, I'm not doing that. Like, I think that a lot of people have a visceral, immediate reaction to the time that they believe is good or is bad in their world. But trial and error is the way that I worked it. When I had Henry, who's my third baby, a long time after Lucinda, when Henry came along, but I just had no time. I suddenly had 3 young kids. At that stage, I had 2 businesses. I now have 4. And so I just couldn't find time. There was no pockets of time. Mm-hmm. And so I said to my husband, I need you to take the morning shift. I need to be able to get up at 5:30 and work from 5:30 till 7, just for an hour and a half. And whatever happens with the kids during that time, if people wake up, if people need breakfast, whatever happens, you're on. And luckily,
welcome to Talking with the Experts. This is where we discuss great ideas to take your business to the next level. How do we know these ideas work? Well, it's because we're talking with business owners who are using these ideas. Business owners who have years of experience and expertise. All things business by business owners for business owners. And now, here is your host, Rose Davidson.
Hello and welcome to Talking with the Experts. I'm your host, Rose Davidson from rosedavidson.com. Talking with the Experts is about all things business by business owners for business owners. You can find it on all good podcasting streaming platforms and on YouTube. Now, there's an age-old idea that we need to be productive 8 hours a day, but in actuality, there are certain times during the day when women are more productive, and that could be for a short 4-hour period. My next guest, Stacey Morgan, is going to talk about what it means to have a go time and how to find yours so you can maximize your time. Welcome, Stacey. Thank you for joining me today. My goodness, I'm having senior moments all around today.
It's a pleasure to be here, and you're in good company. My life is a little bit frazzled at the moment. I've just celebrated my son's 7th birthday party, so things are all over the place. We're going to have an interesting conversation.
Absolutely. So you are a passionate entrepreneur and small business consultant living in Australia. She is the principal of Port Macquarie Performing Arts. Wow, that's exciting. A dance school in the mid-north coast of New South Wales. She is also the director of Morgan Media, a global podcast production company that focuses on podcasts related to small business, the arts, and raising a family. Stacey is a sought-after speaker, facilitator, and business consultant offering online business consulting to small businesses around the world. She is also, big flag for you, a finalist in the Telstra Business Women's Awards in 2020. And Stacey uses her knowledge from her successful 6-figure businesses to coach and consult with women business owners, juggling their own business whilst also raising a family. Oh, yes, we have all been there. We've all done that. And it's certainly not an easy task.
Absolutely not. And when you're in the trenches, don't you feel like you're the only person going through it? There are so many of those isolating moments as a small business owner where I, especially in the early days, I used to think, it's just me. Like no one else is experiencing this. It's just me because I'm, not a good mom or not a good business owner or, I'm not doing this enough or that enough but in reality, it's exactly like you said. We've all been there. We've all been in the trenches. And I think it's nice when you can get with like-minded people and converse with like-minded people that understand exactly what it's like, the reality of it as well.
Yeah, I have a friend in Adelaide. She posts quite often on her personal profile, what she's been going through, the challenges that she has with having 3 kids and juggling her business, which is quite successful, but she feels like she's a failure sometimes. She's, as you say, she's got these things about not being a good mum when she's spending too much time in her business, and and honestly, you've got to find that balance, and it's so hard.
Absolutely. And I hate that word balance. Sorry to to throw that straight out there, because balance, really implies that everything is equal. We think about balance and we think about scales and we think about, having just as much time at work as we have at home, and that equality happening, on a daily, hourly, monthly basis. And that's so unrealistic, especially for people who are raising a family and also raising young businesses and growing young businesses. And so I like the word blend a little bit more, because it gives you, it enables you to cut yourself a little bit of slack and give yourself a little bit of grace, and blending is a little bit easier to do. And the whole notion of balance, it makes me think of the circus, like we're on a high wire, like it's really risky and really scary and outside of our comfort zone. Like I'm not a circus trapeze walker on a daily basis, but I really like the word blend, because blending feels easier. It feels more relaxed. It doesn't feel as stressful. And the amount of, the more I can reduce stress and reduce the drama and reduce the chaos in my world, the better. And the better mum I am to my kids, and the better leader I am to my team, and the better business owner I am. So,
well, blend is a bloody good word. I like that word. It's much better.
Feel free to adopt it.
I will. Thank you so much.
I stole it from somebody else. I swear it wasn't me that that first said it, but whoever said it, whatever book I read or podcast I listened to, I was like, that's it. Right. Going with that.
I'll emblazon that right across my forehead, so when I look up, I'll be able to say that word.
I love
it. Stacey, how do we find our go place, and not be so busy all the time?
Look, I grew up with mentors in my life that taught me that success was being busy, that the busier you were, the more successful you were. And it wasn't until I ran my own business for a few years and then fell pregnant with my daughter, Lucinda, and she came into the world. And then, of course, I was really torn between the time I was spending at home and the time I was spending in my business and working. It wasn't until then that I really had the opportunity to have a look at that mentorship and have a look at those lessons that I had learned, and that patterning from my youth of those role models that were around me that were busy and stressed all the time, because that's what I looked up to and that's what I thought success looked like. And so I was really able to kind of take a good long hard look at myself and look at my week and my year, the way I was setting up my world, and really see that pattern, see, okay, this is what was role modeled for me. And this is what I've developed in my life. I've developed this schedule that has no breaks, that has no white space, that just goes from the start, from the moment I lift up my head until the moment my head goes on the pillow. And I really was not considering that didn't have, that success wasn't something I could develop for myself, my own idea of success. And when Lucinda was born, I thought to myself, no, success for me isn't being busy. Success in my business will be, does my business give me the time that I need to be able to spend where I need it at the time? And Lucinda was a little baby, so of course she needed a lot more love and attention than she does now. But it was a real big eye-opener for me. And so I had to really develop a really good understanding of when I was in my best work time, when my go time was, so that I could use that time productively and get a lot of work done, so that then I could switch off and be at home with her, or switch off and, prepare dinner for the family, or switch off and spend time with my husband. And so for me, go time is something that ebbs and flows. It changes. It's not the same all the time. I used to work in breakfast radio. And so mornings were really my, for a very long time, I was up really early and I was, at work and doing things, and I would, feed off that energy and continue going until about 2:00. And then I'd, hit a wall and go, that's it. I can't do anything anymore. But I find that these days, once the kids have gone to bed, I can switch on at 7:30 and I can work really solidly till 10:30 and get a lot more done then than I can, in the middle of the morning when I'm trying to run to, kids' activities and people are calling me all the time and there's distractions left, right, and center. So finding your go time is really about looking at your week, looking at your schedule, looking at what you've got lined up for you, and picking pockets of time that you can really invest in getting some serious work done. And I love the notion of deep work, where we sit down and we turn off all distractions and we set a timer and we, really give some deep thought and big thinking to those tasks that we have in front of us. I know, so many of us sit down at our desk with our to-do list and, scroll the way down and look for the easiest things or the simplest things or the funnest things. Like I could go down a Canva rabbit hole and just make social media posts for hours and hours. But that's not the most productive use of my time if there are more pressing things on my to-do list. So once you find your go time and you get committed to sitting down and really investing in that deep work, you find you can get so much more done than when you're just kind of sporadically trying to fit, pockets of work into just different pockets of time during your day. Or if you've got 8 hours to write this week's newsletter, you're probably going to take 8 hours to write this week's newsletter, because you'll tweak it and you'll change the color and you'll fix the font and you'll put in a new picture, and all of a sudden the 8 hours are gone. But if you sit down during that deep work session and you've got 45 minutes, you could probably knock it out in 45 minutes. Let's be honest.
Absolutely.
And so it's about using that time you have more productively so that you have time in life for the things that really matter to you.
Well, now that I know what it's called, then I know, because about between, 1 and 2, I get really tired, and I usually go and have a nap for an hour or so.
Oh, I love that.
And then, about 7:30, I start to wake up, and I think, I sit at my computer and I think, okay, I've got some things to do. So I scroll through Facebook a little bit to see what's interesting and what isn't. And then about 9 o'clock, I get really productive. I've got to start editing all my videos and all my podcasts and, making this thing in Canva or entering all my emails. And it's usually at nighttime, and sometimes I don't get to bed till 3, because that's my productive time after
That's
9,
your go
between
time.
9 and 3. Yeah, that's what I do. And now I got a name for it. So now I know what it is and I'm not weird.
Absolutely not. You're actually being your most productive self, because it's different for everybody. I can't come in and say, everyone will get the most done if they work between 9 and 11 in the morning. Like that time could be completely completely zonked. I remember a time in my life where my mornings, I just loved a slow morning. This was prior to children, of course, when I could get
I'm
up
not a morning
slowly and
person.
have a coffee slowly and just leisurely move my way through the morning. And then at 2 o'clock, I would be like, boom, let's go. And that's not the case anymore, but it's really important to be able to understand what season of your world you're in, what season of your life you're in, what season of your business you're in, and be able to tailor that to the energy that you have and the energy flow that's working with you at the time, so that you can, not sit at the computer from 9 till 11 in the morning if that's not your productive time, and kind of just look at things and scroll things and potter around and email a few things. You might as well be on the beach or walking around the block or going for a coffee with a friend, because you're not actually being productive. If your go time is going to be between 9 p.m. and 3 a.m., then have a leisurely morning, enjoy yourself, and then know that that's when you're going to get so much more done.
Yeah, the trouble with that though is that clients don't work between 9 and 3. You'll find me sending a message at midnight or 1 a.m. and or sending an email, and I'm thinking after I've sent it, oh my God, they're in bed asleep. What am I doing? But that, for me, it's the most logical time to be doing that whilst I'm in that productive mode. But so that's when you find me moving furniture and reorganizing my office, and while my husband's
sorting out the
asleep,
pantry.
So that he doesn't yell at me and say, what are you doing that for?
And just get it done in peace and quiet. He can wake up and it's all brand new.
Absolutely.
The thing is, boundary setting is a really important part of this. And I think we live in a 24/7 culture where people expect to hear back from us immediately. They expect to get an answer immediately. And if we don't set really strong boundaries about that, especially as a small business owner, that can completely take over our world. And we can find ourselves in a situation where we no longer have control of our business and our business controls us. I talk all the time about making sure that you're running your business instead of your business running you. And, boundary setting is important around that. If you're not going to get to your inbox until 9 p.m., put that on your out of office. Make sure people know about it. So when they email you at 11 o'clock in the morning, they don't expect a reply until overnight. Set really strong
Fine
boundaries.
idea. I hadn't thought of that.
Yeah, set really strong boundaries with your clients as well to say, look, you know, you may hear from me at 1 a.m. I don't expect an answer to you from 1 a.m. I'm not sitting there, tapping refresh, hoping that you're going to reply. But please, turn your phone onto silent when you go to bed and don't reply to my emails, but know that, that's my go time. And so I'll be sending things and I in no way expect a reply at that time. I had a staff member who it was part of my team. She's still part of my team, but we had to do some boundary setting because I would do the same as you. I would email her or text her at all hours of the day and night about things that were just on my mind. And she would respond immediately. And I'd be like, what are you doing? What? Why did you text me back last night? She was like, well, I had the answer. And I was like, you were clocked off though. Do not respond to me. I do not want to hear from you. And so that was really good for her in terms of, she was able to set that boundary of, yes, you can text me, you can email me. I'm not going to reply until I'm back at work at 9 o'clock the next morning. And I was totally fine with that. But she thought there was an expectation from me that because I was sending the message at that time that I needed a reply. I was like, hell no, please sleep.
That's a good point. You've said about setting boundaries and that. What are some of the boundaries or how do we go about setting those boundaries? I mean, because I know women really aren't that good at it. Usually because, just because we're not that way wired. So, how can business owners set those boundaries as you've suggested and, so they're not having their clients, emailing them at weird hours?
You say that we, especially as women, are not good at setting boundaries. It's because so many of us are people pleasers. So many of us don't want to let people down. So many of us are nurturers. We just want to look after everybody. And part of that is that, we often put other people first and not ourselves. And we all know the sayings about, you can't fill up from an empty cup. So you've got to fill yourself up first, put your own face mask on before helping others on the airplane. We know what we should be doing. But when it comes to real life, actually putting those boundaries in place is the next step. So I encourage you to find a boundary accountability partner, somebody, a friend. Doesn't have to be somebody in business. It could be someone on your team. It could be someone else, your business bestie who may also run a different business, but maybe in a different industry. It may be your best friend. It may be your partner. Find an accountability person that will help you hold yourself accountable for the boundaries that you're setting. If you don't want to, if you want to have weekends to yourself and don't want to be running around, going from this fundraiser to this community event, to this family function, to this, to that, you want to have some time for yourself, you want to be able to recharge, then you've got to tell people that that's your plan so that they can hold you accountable when, the phone rings and someone says, we just need somebody to fill in for this shift, come on down from 10 till 2. And before you know it, your whole Saturday is gone. So it's the easiest way to get started. If you know that you're that person that, even the word boundaries gives you goosebumps and you go, oh, that's a bit hard. Find somebody to help you out. Find an accountability person. Get in touch with them and say, look, I'm not having any time to myself. Here's my plan of attack. Every, third Saturday, I want to make sure I've got time to myself. Please help me not schedule anything in. And then, when the phone rings and you have to have that difficult conversation, you get in touch with your accountability person and say, guess what? They just rang and said that they wanted me on that Saturday and I told them no. And having someone to share it with is so much more rewarding. And speaking of rewarding, like I'm very incentive based. Most of the goals that I set in my business and my life have incentives linked to them because I like to treat myself. So if that works for you and you want to be able to enjoy, setting the boundary and actually then rewarding yourself for it, then pick something, take yourself for a facial, buy yourself a Mars bar, fly yourself to New York, whatever the level of reward you want to have for yourself, make sure that it's there and it's linked to boundaries that are really important for you. And the easiest way to start is with the out of office on your email, like we talked about. If you're going to be out of the office every Friday, let people know. send people the message. If you're not going to be checking your email until 2:00, let people know. When I had Lucinda and first put her in daycare, I put her in daycare when she was 9 months old because I pretty much had a complete mental breakdown and burnout and, you know, all of those things because I was like, I cannot do this anymore. It's all too much. And I put her into daycare 1 day a week, and that was my work day. That was my answer the email day. That was my return the phone call day. That was my all the things. And so I put that on my email out of office. Hello, everybody. Wednesdays are the days I'll check this email. If you need to get in touch with me sooner, call me at the office. Call my husband. Like it just was about setting that boundary, and that was a really smart way to send it. And at first I was like, oh God, I can't do that. People will be like, oh, what, she's slacking off. She's not doing. Oh. No one said a thing. No one said a single thing. No one mentioned it. And everybody got the answers. Everybody waited till Wednesday to hear back from me. Or if they didn't, they asked somebody on my team, or they went and read the newsletter themselves and got the answer, or went on the website and got the answer themselves. And the world continued to turn, but my world suddenly became somewhere that was livable again, rather than the chaos that I was living in before that.
Yeah, very good advice, actually. A lot of us don't do that because we think people will, say that we're bad business owners or we're a bad person because, we will only answer emails on a Wednesday. But yeah, if you do set those boundaries, make it clear that that's the only day that you answer emails, then yeah, great.
People will deal with it.
A great tip.
And it's your business. You can, if you want to answer calls on a Wednesday, answer calls on a Wednesday. If you want to close on a Monday, that's why we go into this crazy business journey, because we want to have freedom to choose the lifestyle that we want. So don't forget that. It's your business, your choice. You do what you want to do.
Absolutely. Stacey, now the go-to time, I really love that how you've used those words. I think it's a really great it's just really great. I don't know, I can't think of words today. I don't know what's wrong with me. What's a great strategy to work out what your go time is?
So I think a lot of people watching and listening will immediately go, oh, that's me. Or if I say, get up at 5:00 and work in the morning, and they go, oh, not doing that. Like, I think that a lot of people have a visceral, immediate reaction to the time that they believe is good or is bad in their world. But trial and error is the way that I worked it. When I had Henry, who's my third baby, a long time after Lucinda, when Henry came along, but I just had no time. I suddenly had 3 young kids. At that stage, I had 2 businesses. I now have 4. And so I just couldn't find time. There was no pockets of time. Mm-hmm. And so I said to my husband, I need you to take the morning shift. I need to be able to get up at 5:30 and work from 5:30 till 7, just for an hour and a half. And whatever happens with the kids during that time, if people wake up, if people need breakfast, whatever happens, you're on. And luckily he's incredibly supportive and wonderful and does what he's told. So he said
well.
And so that hour and a half that I had 5 days a week, and some weeks when it was busy, I did it 7 days a week. Look, starting the day at 7 a.m. once I'd already ticked off the majority of the things on my to-do list was incredible for me. And because I was running on little sleep with a newborn, that time worked for me, and it was good. The thought now of getting up at 5:30, I could think of nothing worse than changing my schedule to be getting up at 5:30, because the kids are a lot busier in the afternoons. I'm running from tennis to soccer to dancing to all the things. I get them home, I get them fed, and then I get some work done. The thought of then getting up early is too hard for me. So think about the things that you need in order to make your week work, and then figure out where you're feeling the most energized. So I need 8 hours of sleep every night. Can't live without that. Can't function. Not a nice person. Just ask my husband. And that's what I've learned. So in order for me to have enough energy to get through my day, I have to have 8 hours of sleep. He only needs 6. So he can come to bed at midnight and get up at 6:00 in the morning and be good to go. So I know lots of people have different sleep patterns and have different amounts of sleep that they need. Find out what you need, and that's a really good place to start, because once you know that, and once you can get into a really good habit of that, and don't stay up late scrolling Instagram or binging Netflix, like if you get really disciplined about it, you can find that time, and then just trial and error. Go through your day, see where you're most energized, see where you have that time where you're, scrolling and wasting time on the internet rather than getting work done. And then find those times like you did at night where by 9 p.m. you're like, let's go. And once you find that time, then really lean into it. So if you know that 9 o'clock is going to be your go time, have your dinner at 7:30, have something really nutritious and something that's going to fuel you to get you through to 3 a.m. so that you make sure that you have enough energy for that. Make sure you have your nap between 1 and 2 so that by the time you get to 9 o'clock, you're not so tired that you can't actually switch on for that time. Find out what your body needs, how your body works best, and then really nurture it in a way that will help you maximize that go time that you choose, no matter what time of the day you choose to make it happen.
Yeah, it took me a long time to work it out that 9 to 3 was my go time, because I just used to think I was just wasting time, but that's with the time that I really got the most out of what I was doing, and that's when I have my best thoughts and ideas too, is like late at night. It's not during the day, because I'm definitely not a morning person, and if I have to be up before 10 or 9, I'm like don't talk to me for the rest of the day until I've had at least 10 cups of coffee.
Yeah. But that's good that you know that about yourself, and so you know what works and what doesn't, and you can tailor your schedule to suit it.
Yeah. It's a great philosophy to have, I suppose, is to find out what works for you. Set those boundaries is really important. And the out of office email thing, I'm going to set that up today. I hadn't actually thought of doing that, but I will now.
Go for it. Do it.
Yeah, great.
And
we
my
won't use the
last
word balance. We'll use the word
blend.
blend. That's it.
Yes. Yeah. And the last thing that you have to kind of add on to all putting all of that together is to actually communicate it to the people around you. So put the email out of office on, but then also go tell people. So the next person you speak to, the next person that comes, to the door, even if it's just the mailman dropping off the, things that you ordered last week on Amazon, tell them, I've set up my out of office and I'm only answering emails on Wednesday. Start putting it out into the universe. Tell your team, tell your people, tell your clients. Start using it, start using the words as well as the out of office. And that's a way of teaching your brain and yourself and all of your cells that that's exactly what you're going to do. And then you get to do it yourself.
Wonderful. Now, tell me, have you written a book about this program?
I haven't. I've written half a book. I've written like 74%. That's over half, but I'm more than halfway of writing my book. But thank you for the prompt. And you're the third prompt that the universe has given me in the last 3 weeks about the book, because I've started writing maybe 2 years ago, maybe mid-pandemic, and then things have gotten in the way and I've prioritized other things. But you're the third person to wink, wink, nudge, nudge me. So perhaps the book needs to come back to the top of my agenda. And then when I release it, I'll come back on the podcast and we can talk about the book.
Lovely. I'd love to talk to you again. I guess, tell me a little bit about your podcast production that you do, because it's interesting. I'm trying to start my own, and I'd like to pick your brain a bit.
Oh, of course. So my background is breakfast radio. And from the age of 13, I started working at my local community radio station. I love radio. And so I've always done not just breakfast radio. I've done night shows and kids shows and, music shows and lots of different things. And I came back to radio in my 30s and really, really enjoyed breakfast radio and the challenge of breakfast radio. But I got really bored of just talking about the Kardashians and Katy Perry's latest love. And, that's the stuff you get paid to talk about on breakfast radio. And I had a few co-hosts during my time, some of which were funny, some of which thought they were really funny. And so my whole day was just spent going, the Kardashians. So that wasn't fulfilling for me. So I started my own, production company where, because podcasts were just taking off, where I could interview and speak to interesting people and not talk about the Kardashians, but also use the medium of audio and radio. And once I started doing it for myself, of course, lots of my business coaching clients wanted podcasts for their own brands. I had friends who were like, I'd love a podcast. Can you help me? And so Morgan Media has really grown quite authentically just from people who heard my first podcast or knew me or were working with me and thought that this would be something that they would love to add to their ecosystem. And so now Morgan Media has lots of different podcasts that are all positioned all over the world, which is the great thing about audio. You can speak to anyone, anywhere. And of course, during COVID, podcasting just completely blew up. So it's kind of like my pet project, my side hustle, my little love child, Morgan Media. I have lots of really interesting podcasts from a range of genres, but as you said in my introduction, mostly based on small business, running a family, the arts, things that I am passionate about. And hundreds of thousands of downloads later, it's really, really thriving. So if you're thinking about doing more podcasting, it's only getting bigger. There's only more podcasts getting out there. And because there are so many different ones now, you can find a podcast about anything that tickles your fancy, which I love so much. Yeah. So I have my own podcast, which I'm really focused on at the moment. It's called How to Run a Successful Business and Still Have a Life. And so that's a weekly podcast that it's a really short 10-minute episode every Wednesday, which I release. And then I have podcasts that I do for fun, like Mum and a Gay Guy, which is my gay best friend. We just get on and talk about rubbish. And that's supposed to be a weekly podcast, but sometimes we forget that we have a podcast and we just leave it a few weeks and we go, oh, that's right. We'll come back to that. I do Regold's Dance Life podcast with Regold, who he's in Boston and he has a really big following in the dance teacher world over in Boston. So we talk fortnightly, and we have meditation, we have marketing, we have ballet school specific, small business specific. We have lots of different podcasts on the Morgan Media Network. And it's, as I said, it's my love. It's a really, really rewarding way to keep my passion alive for audio and for radio, but to not have to spend my time giggling at jokes that are not funny and talking about Kim Kardashian.
Yeah, I was thinking of starting an online radio station, to be honest. And
cool.
And I need to get the marketing, change that around a little bit, because I had a lot of interest in it, but I think I went about it the wrong way. So I need to revisit that, and I'll do that next year. So I've already got the app already, and I've got the license for music. So so I've done all that homework. I just need to, just get some people interested in it.
Oh, shout out. I'd love to bring back a little radio show once a week.
That'd be good. All right. Well, I'll put you on the email list.
Please do.
Yes, Stacey, it's been an absolute pleasure. Where can people find you if they want to learn more about you or to work with you?
Oh, I'd love people to come and work with me. I find my business coaching so rewarding because there are so many mistakes that I've made in business, and I really love the opportunity to be able to pay it forward and to tell people all the times that I've tripped up, to hopefully help them not trip up in the same places that I have done in any of my businesses. And as I said, I run 4 businesses now, so it keeps me very, very busy along with my 3 children. So on Instagram, I'm at Simply Stacey Morgan. You can find me at simplystaceymorgan.com, as well as my coaching programs and live events. And I would love you to reach out, especially if you're listening to this episode on your iPhone. Please take a screenshot and stick it on your Insta story and tag me. Please let me know that you are listening. Let me know any nuggets or takeaways. And the to-do list that I use for my deep work time. So when I sit down at my desk in my go time and I think, okay, what am I going to get done now? I have a really comprehensive to-do list, and I have a free download of that if you would like a copy of that. It's got lots of different categories, and it gives you an ability to time the different tasks that you're going to do, separate your calls and your shopping list and all of the things. And it really helps me to be the most productive person I can be when it comes to my go time. So I'd be happy to give that free download to anybody who is listening, and you can get that at simplystaceymorgan.com/free download.
Done. Thank you so much. So in closing, have you got any words of wisdom, a spicy nugget that you'd like to share?
I just think be kind to yourself. I think as small business owners, especially if we're, our business is growing and we're also, raising a family or, trying to have a business and have a life. If you're in that boat, then give yourself a little bit of grace and don't forget to reward yourself for all of the great things that you are doing, because it can be really lonely and isolating. As we said in the beginning, sometimes we feel like it's just us, but you're not alone. Surround yourself with people who are like-minded and who understand what you're going through, and give yourself a little bit of grace because you're doing a great job.
Well done and well said. Yes, we all need to give ourselves that time of grace to say, and stop being so hard on ourselves when things go a little bit pear-shaped, because
Absolutely.
quite often it's not of our own doing. It's just life gets in the road and there's nothing we can do about it. So be nice to yourself.
Love it.
Stacey, it's been an absolute pleasure. I've had so much fun today. Thank you
Me
so
too,
much
Rose.
for joining
Thank you so
me.
much for having me.
I'll talk to you sooner than you think.
Sounds good.
Bye-bye for now.
You've been listening to Talking with the Experts, hosted by Rose Davidson. Make sure you have a look at our back catalogue over at talkingwiththeexperts.com, and be sure to subscribe to our podcast so you don't miss out on any episode. We look forward to your company next time. Talking with the Experts.